All right, so we're gonna be painting the Zeratul miniature from the StarCraft Miniature Game. And this is how a noob paints miniatures. So right now we primed this black, and this is the wrong way how to do it. I primed it black using Rust-Oleum black flats from Home Depot. And now I'm dry brushing it using a makeup brush, because I heard that is what the cool kids do. And I dry brushed the base heavily in the gray. And I'm gonna start dry brushing heavily the miniature right now, which doesn't look too bad. And this is gonna bring out highlights as you paint, give you two different color variations as you put down the base coat. So yeah, another way to do this Zeratul kind of painting for slap shot painting, you can spray dark gray from the top down after you spray the whole model in black. And then you do the same thing where you dry brush the whole model in a lighter color than both of those. So yeah. Let's get it going. I kind of quickly gave it a light dry brush with Wraithbone on top, just to give it a little extra variation in shading. So that's how that looks right there. I don't know why, it kind of looks metallic. I have the gauntlet not attached to the model because we're gonna paint it separately. We have the blade separate. We're not gonna glue it in until we're done with most of the model to set up a kind of OSL look, which I've never done before. So hopefully this looks good and not poo-poo. And my little baby is curious what's happening over here. What's happening, Panap? So I'm gonna go off tangent real quick. I have a whole painting station in the garage and I'm still here in the house painting on the table. But I can also keep an eye on this little Ning here while she paints her own figurines. Penelope, you wanna paint my Warhammer for me? No, you wanna paint eggs? Okay, bye now. Okay, we're gonna start painting the Hydralisk, and I'm just using paints I already have. I didn't buy any new paints or materials for this at all. So I'm using the Games Workshop Dryad Bark as the base coat, and then I'm gonna layer it with Gothar Brown. Gothar? All right, so I actually decided I want to give one last dry brush of Fenrisian Gray on this whole base. I saw someone paint this kind of with a bluish gray, and this is a bluish gray from Games Workshop. Also, there's like a little bit left in here before I toss it, so we're gonna use it up. The base coat of the dried bark is down. We're gonna wait for this to dry, and we're gonna start with the next coat of Gothar Brown. So let's do it. All right, I wanna go over it one more time with the Gothar Brown. So while I'm waiting for it to dry, that first coat of the Gothar Brown, I kinda did an edge highlighting. It took me 1 or 2 minutes of Fenrisian Gray on the rocks to kind of just make it stand out more. And all I did was just take a finer tipped brush and just painted the tips and followed the curves of the rock. Just kind of gives it a little of a, I don't know, contrast to stand out. I don't know why, it wasn't really giving me that vibe. So I took it another step forward and I gave it a Agrax Earthshade wash. So while that wash is drying, second step is going to be to do the Baneblade Brown over some raised edges to give it that nice pop. And then while we're waiting for this to dry, I'm gonna start doing the purple base coats on the main model. All right, so we're gonna start painting Zeratul. So the base coat's gonna be Demonette Hide. And then we're gonna do a mixture of Warp Fiend Gray and Genestealer Purple for layering. And I think we're gonna do a wash. So we're gonna use the same base coats for the skin and the cloak. But we're gonna do Druchii Violet shading for the cloak, and then Drakenhof Nightshade for the skin to give it a little blue hue. And all of these paints, you can tell the size of these paint pots are huge. These are almost 10 years old. I got these in 2016. That's how much value the OG sizes got you. If the new shade pots for the new shade pots are pretty much the size of these paint pots. Crazy. Games Workshop be taking your money. And look how much this cost. $6.75 for this huge pot. Yeah. Okay, we got the first base coat drying on Zeratul. While that is drying, I went ahead and dry brush and just kind of edge highlighted the Hydralisk here on the base. So it's pretty much done. We're gonna leave it at that. I'm not gonna bring it up to any more quality. It's just basing, but you always can, after you're done with the whole model, you can go back and paint that. The only other steps I would bring out are maybe his tusks, his talon, and the teeth. You could do Wraithbone on those and then throw Agrax Earthshade, but this is good enough for me. All right, so now we have Warpring Gray for the base coat on the skin. And now we're gonna wait for that to dry, then we're gonna put in the washes. Okay, so now that those first purple base coats dried, we started with the base coat for the armor, which is gold. And now I think we're gonna start dry brushing some OSL. Okay, so I think I'm gonna start with a base coat of Caliban Green, medium layer it with Warpstone Glow, and then a light dry brush of Moot Green. All right, so for the all right, we have the first base coat on the green cloak going. Well, that's drying. I'm gonna start on the blade. We're gonna put the technical Tezzeret Glow on it. So I heard this looks good just painting straight onto the clear blade. So let's see how that looks.
You see what your daughter's doing?
All right, so this is how it looks so far with the green effect. I think I went too much green, but whatever, that's good enough. I'm kind of over it. So we did gold on the armor, as you could see, same green for the gems in the eye. Put some wash on the skin, and I'm gonna highlight the skin. I don't even think I'm gonna highlight it. I'm just gonna dry brush it some kind of light blue to give it some contrast, and then I'm gonna dry brush the purple with the Warping Gray. All right, here's the finished product. It could have been better, but I mean, not bad for not painting for 1 to 2 years. It does come with a second figure of Zeratul in cloaking mode, cloaked. And I had some extra blue gems. They could look like crystals that you mine in the game. They were from my Lumineth Realm Lord's commission. So I had leftovers from like 3 years ago. I decided to plop them on there. They're kind of oversized, but they're hanging off. So it works out. And this is the leftover of a broken whirlwind turret, and it kind of looked like the missile turrets for Terran. So I put him plopped on top of that. Yeah, that is it. Those are the models. I actually think for 2 models of that size, it is not a bad deal. We actually have, we could have found a better example model, but here is a Tau Supremacy armor, a scale of Zeratul by him. So that is how that looks. The more I look at it, I think it turned out not bad. It turned out pretty good for not doing too much fancy work. But yeah, I am very excited for the StarCraft Miniature Game. People say the games are gonna be 2 to 3 hours. I hope it's not that. I hope they're probably 1 hour to 2 hours long. Please, if the devs are watching, make the game that long. No one wants to play a Warhammer 40K game. So anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.